Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some tag time. We've been playing with Watercolour Wednesdays, but obviously tag making remains at the heart of my playtime. So I've got these backgrounds out there from the session on the gel plate with Distress Inks and Oxides. I'll link to that below if you haven't seen it. And I've pulled out some of the leaves, some more leaves from the big leaf making session from last year. So they've been hanging around for ages. Seems like they should get a chance to come out and play. And various stamps and bits and bobs that I just feel like I might want to play with today. I'm thinking of adding a bit more texture to this one, because this one is beautifully textured, got lots going on in terms of patterning. This one a little less interesting, so I've got the crackle stamp here from, what's that, EAB 41 pressed Umbels, and I'm thinking I'm just going to put a bit of, in fact I might not even load it up. I want it quite subtle, so maybe we'll do it in Pebble Beach. If that's not making any impression, then I'll switch to something a bit darker, but I think it just gives us a little extra touch of something going on. Maybe I'll do a bit of a potting soil one, just to give us a bit more presence. There seems to have been some sort of stem here in that original printing, or I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember having these stems around doing that session. Maybe I need to go back and have a look at what I did during that gel printing session. So that's just giving me a little bit of, it's crackle, but it's also got that impression of sort of gnarly tree trunk. In fact, I like it so much, I am going to put some on this one as well. One of the things I love about this crackle, it's crackle taken from some actual crackle that I had made in a mixed media kind of a way, and scanned and added to a stamp set so that you can have glorious crackle whenever you want it. So it's just, I think that's really good for an autumnal kind of a game, because we're going to have leaves, so why wouldn't you have tree bark in the mix as well? A little bit of that. So it's subtle, but it's worth it, I think. I might go for a little zoom in so that you get a closer look from here on in. Given we're working with subtle detail levels here. Oh, look, that's gone off. So this is the Field Notes set, absolutely beautiful Tim Holtz set, full of gorgeous ephemera little numbers and labels and all kinds of things, and I love them dearly. So I'm going to put a little bit of this kind of detailing in, and I think this is probably going to be, oh hello, see, I've used this one so much it's got itself dirty and doesn't want to cling to my stamp. It sort of doesn't matter, because I could easily just go in and stamp it without a grid block. It wouldn't be a problem. I love the little detailing that gives us just a gorgeous little number. What else have we got? There are wonderful words. I love this one. Orders attended to day or night always makes me laugh. So we might have that somewhere on here. I think we'll pop it where? So that one's, oh hello, see, you can tell, can't you? Or maybe it's my grid block that is dirty, actually thinking about it, so that it doesn't want to adhere fully. So let's go, oh thanks. Oh, I'm going to put it down and then I'm going to press. See, that works. That worked. I'll live with that. I can handle that. That'll be fine by me. And let's have one coming up this side. This is, as you know, not entirely random. If I go horizontal on one, I'll go vertical on the other. If I go up, I'll go down. If I go around, I'll go the other way. Let's see, what else do we have? I don't think I want condemned. That seems a bit brutal. Maybe this large number here is quite nice to just add into the mix. And we might have that sort of here-ish. And we might, oh, that's lovely. So sort of subtle and just delicious. Maybe there. Yeah, that's all looking good. And yeah, maybe a little postmark I mean, obviously I've got lots of postmarks in my sets as well, but it's good to ring the changes. That's nice. And maybe there. There we go. Just gives me, as I say, just something that builds the detail, builds interest, builds a kind of softness. I think I'd quite like some background grasses and things. This is my much loved Lim Brown grass. Absolutely beautiful stamp that I do need a slightly bigger plate for. But again, I want it quite subtle. I want to add a layer of my winter grasses over the top. So this one I am going to go in Pebble Beach, I think. Well, I could even go in Distress Ink, couldn't I? These are Distress Inks. Maybe it's as much as Vintage Photo. No, let's go Pumice Stone. This might be too subtle. We'll see. I should maybe have some embossing powder standing by in case I want to build it a little bit. It's just one of my all-time favourite stamps. And whenever it's around, I'm pretty happy. Oh, yeah, see, that'll do me. Let's have another one coming in from the other side. And then I think this is going to layer rather nicely with my wintry grasses. So there's a real organic sort of feeling to this autumnal meadow. Nice. Lots of this obviously is going to end up getting covered up if I use too many leaves, so that'll be something to consider as I progress, how much I actually want to put over these. It can happen that I enjoy the stamping so much that all the further thoughts I've had about ephemera or adding things have to shift and change. And that's about being present in the creative process. That's about paying attention to the things that are arriving in front of you, noticing what it is that makes you happy. And if there's enough going on, then stop. Don't don't feel like you have to cover things up. And very often less is more, but sometimes more is more. Sometimes it's really lovely having all those layers that almost vanish underneath, but they're still there, adding a kind of sense of detail, delight, depth, storytelling. All of those things can be present without having to be in your face. And as you can see, this is already a not in your face game. I do want to use this sepia, but I'm wondering about also having the Vintage Photo out, because I think there are some bits of Vintage Photo going on in there that I think it might be quite nice to echo with this stamping. And there's certainly Vintage Photo going on in these leaves, so again, just creating that relationship between these backgrounds that I made so many months ago, probably over a year ago, I think, and what I'm now adding a year later, and being able to connect those things across time. I'm just going to take this through that space between the other grasses. So this should be a browner, autumny. Yeah, look, that's good. It's good, it's good. And then I'm going to take one up sort of through there, I think. So again, that's the sepia with sort of a touch of the Vintage Photo, just joining in the game. Little subtle layered backgrounds, meadow. Yeah, and I do want another of those. I'm going to go Vintage Photo. This time I think with a hint of rusty Hinge added to the mix, because I think that's going to give us even a slightly fierier version. Oh yes, that's nice. Let's go rusty Hinge and add in some more. Just coming up. Make sure I change the angle a little bit. Yes, I like that. I know it's gone off the top of the camera because I'm trying to show you the inking up and the stamping process. So just coming up the side there with that more autumnal look. Bit of vintage photo, bit of rusty hinge. And again, this is going to tie us together with these leaves when they arrive. Let's come up there, like so. Yeah, I like this a lot. And it's going to be a question of just making sure we don't cover up too much of what's going on as we go ahead. I think I'm inclined to use this little ephemera stamp here to add another geometric element. We've got lots and lots of organic stuff going on now, and one of the things I like about the relationship between the organic and the more formalized elements is that they shift how the eye and the brain works. So the brain can get very hooked on formal shapes, but sometimes it's nice to give it something organic. Conversely, it can get very hooked on the organic, and then it's quite nice to give it something more formal and geometric and text-based. So that seems almost invisible, but I'm going to do the magic Mattint trick of just bringing it into focus. Back in a sec. So I could, of course, also do this with a bit of distress ink just over the top, but I have found that that is more likely to move the distress inks underneath. Whereas if I just use this Mattint, this is the Ash transparent tinted matte glaze, I can give that a little bit of ode. Idiot. I stamped it in pumice stone, didn't I? Not in permanent. Not in archival ink. So that's why that's gone all blurry. Not to panic. There we are. See, I'm just going to lift that up, let it live. So whether it was ink or Mattint, you do need to have stamped in a permanent ink underneath. That is not going to work because it's going to immediately, as you saw, move that ink around and it's pretty much vanished, the detail stamping. So what I can do is, having given it that coat of the Mattint, I can now go back in with a permanent ink, and there's no problem stamping over the top of a Mattint. It will turn off. I've inked the wrong end of that stamp. I need that end. So I could do the similar thing over here and just sort of wash that label away, which I might well do. Come back in with the permanent ink. Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to use some water to just, and yes, I'm aware that that is going to also mess with what's going on behind. And if push comes to shove, the other thing I can do at this point is create an actual label. In fact, yes, let's do it. Might as well. I've got rather lovely gessoed book page here, hoping this stamp might fit over the whole of that. Might just be able to fit it on here. There we go. So never panic. Something happens. A, you might like it. You might like that that goes all wobbly and soft. B, it's always possible to add another layer and make the most of those errors, those happy accidents. There it is. So I've now got a beautiful vintage look to my label. Hopefully, so I may have stamped slightly more than half, but if I give myself a little bit of extra, hopefully I can get myself enough. There it is, beautiful. If not, I can always stamp another one. Oh, I love that. See, I like that even better than the version. I think I'm going to go for another stamping because I'd like the whole length of that available. And I think I can I just, well, what I can do is I can get enough to do that. So I'm going to stamp that end of it. And that's going to be plenty to cover the previous messed up stamping. So this is the difference worth remembering between permanent archival inks, which are water resistant, moisture resistant, and the beautiful distress inks and oxides and any other water-based inks, which are not permanent and will therefore react and respond if you put liquid over the top of them. You'll lose detail, but that really is a happy accident, because I love that on the gessoed book page, just added to the mix of what's going on there. Beautiful vintage kind of look. I haven't edged it. I could have edged it with distress ink, but I quite like the subtlety of that. And if I want to add a little bit more shading or detail to it, that's when I can bring back into play this little subtle Mattint, which will just soften the white look of that if I don't want too much whiteness going on. Grand. Enjoying all of that quite a lot. Let's mop that up. Great. We might be at the business of collaging. So I'll bring it all back on camera, although that was the relevant part of what was happening. There we go. Tags ready to play. And yeah, I was really enjoying these two Photobooth types, but maybe now I've changed my mind. It's all up for grabs again. They're quite good in relation to that little label. Maybe they've been to this studio to have their pictures taken. Let's have a look at some of these leaves and just see what attracts the eye. There's still, I mean, it's still on the turn here. It's not fully got itself to autumn yet. There's still majority green leaves out there. I quite like these ones that are stamped over text. That's quite nice, but he needs something a bit more solid, a bit more present against this background here. Not sure about the photos. I'm enjoying the meadow kind of world that's going on here. Maybe what I want is something more like a paper doll. Although again, there is something good about the geometry of those photos. I'm going to grab a few more Photobooth photos just to see if it's just that I need different people. Where are they? There they are. Okay, let's have a look. Maybe it's just about having a slightly more present photo. They're a bit pale and wan. Let's have a look. Oh, I do like her. I love her looking out at me from that meadow. That's spot on. I think she's a bit grumpy. Sometimes I like a grumpy look, but I don't think she's the one for that. Maybe it's partly to do with the sepia tone of this. That is, and the direct look is working for me. That's good. So keep an eye out for something sepia. This can very, oh, hello, might be you. She's too pale. I mean, not her, the background of the photo. There's another one just sitting here that I sort of want to have a look at. No, I think it might be that. And both of those have got quite a warm sepia look to the photo. So that's interesting that that's what my brain wants with these burnished leaves. So I'm just going to trim down to Photobooth photo, and I might do a little bit of messing up that edge. Let's go right into that black outline. I think that's going to look quite good. Oh, sorry, off camera. That's quite nice. Don't want to cover up a lovely label. So some of these leaves have got a real shimmer on them. Look at that. And that might be a thing that's slightly not making my brain happy. That might be what's going on there. So a little bit under there. Maybe a smaller leaf. There's something going on with the colours on this one that is not quite making my brain happy yet. We may well get there. That's quite fun. What have we got here? Darker one, a lighter one. Maybe, yes, maybe it's about having something darker, because the background here is quite light and gentle. So maybe it's about having something a bit more present on that way, on that side. That's looking pretty good to me now. She maybe needs something. Yeah, it's maybe about balancing. Oh, look, light and dark. And also about losing a bit more of that purple, which is pretty full on as purples go. That's quite good. Maybe something that is a bigger contrast there. That's pleasurable. And leaving room for words up at the top. So there are 4 leaves on each of those, and convention says that 5 is a better number than 4 in terms of interest and detail. What about that little one there? And what about this little one here? Same direction as that, not so good. Going down there. That is covering up quite a lot of that label, so I might just shift things upwards a bit. There we are. And as I said, things may vanish underneath, and that might be fine. Or we might decide it's sad to lose all that loveliness there, and instead we'll take that leaf up in that direction. Maybe just have the little one somewhere there. Okay, so one of my other favourite things when I'm doing these kinds of collages, as you may recall, is the fabulous film strip ribbon, which I think now comes in packets, but I of course still have my little silver tin from the original packaging, and I put I put the new piece into there when I get one. I think I want at least 6 strips of film, 6 frames in my strip of film. There we go. And I think we might just have that heading off up to the top of the... It's just a fabulous graphic element. Oh, those leaves have gone haywire. Grand. So one of my favourite ways of just getting that into place is... Oh, can I find it without letting go? I don't know. As I was saying, when I was so rudely interrupted by not being able to find my tiny attacher, that is one of my favourite ways of adding photos and film strip to a tag, because it gives me just that little touch of industrial delight, and it does the job immediately. There's no waiting for glue to dry. There's none of that. So I'm going to take the risk that this is where I want these things to happen. Grab my tiny little stapler onto here and get one that goes straight through. Film strip, ribbon and leaves. Done. It's like a little magic trick. So let's see if that still wants to be there. Let's see if that still wants to be there. And let's see if that still wants to be there. I'll leave that to marinade. And then over this side, let's pop that down, get her where we want her. Maybe this leaf heading upwards. Let's get that under that corner. So I'm going to be able to grab film strip and photo at the same moment. And maybe this one goes in a downwards direction. Can we get it all to behave? Not sure that's going to catch the stem of that, but we'll see. Pick up while we can. That's maybe a little too high up, so I'm going to take the film strip a little further down. That's better. And what I love about this is you continue to be able to see what's underneath. Let's just make sure she's straight-ish. Not terribly bothered about her being 100% straight, because there's an informality to that. And there we are, hooked. Hooked, done. Grand, so let's send this off in this direction. Kind of doing that. So we've got a nice balancing act going on here of these two wordy leaves meeting each other in the middle. One of that going maybe, oh, going maybe that way. That's what we want. And that one heading up there. Grand. So for those, it's going to be a little touch of glue. Very nice. One could glue down the extra corner of that, but I'm most concerned at the moment to just get these where they're making me happy. I mostly don't glue the whole leaf. I like to glue just along the sort of central vein, because then what I can do, give myself a little bit of extra dimension by turning up the edges of the leaves. Nice, enjoying that. And I'm really enjoying the contrast of those soft purples with the vivid oranges. That seems to be a thing that's happening to me this year. My colour brain is enjoying autumnal pinks and purples. Autumnal pink particularly, as you'll know if you've been around on my Instagram lately. But it seems that that purple is joining in the game now as well. The autumnal purple has been a thing for a while. Autumnal pink is really a new kettle of fish, as it were, but I'm enjoying it. Oh, there's something rather good going on with those. Enjoying that. Let's see what I want in the way of words. I think my main words may be going to be some small talk stickers, but I think I'd also like some sort of subliminal words in the background, and one of them is twilight, which comes off these winter grasses, and I'm going to do it very subtly in either the Pebble Beach or the Pumice stone again, just I think hovering under here. So here's another good reason not to stick everything all the way down, is that I just want that word twilight to hover somewhere in here. So I'm just going to curl that back. Am I the right way up? Yes, I am. It's just going to go there. And it's not the main thing I'm concerned with. In fact, the T has vanished under some bushes. And then the other word I'm quite interested in comes from the other set we've been using, which is helpful of it. Dreaming. Let me see if I can, I think that's dreaming there. Come here. Thank you. Yeah, it is. And a similar sort of thing, just hovering somewhere in the background. So it's now like these bits of ephemera stamping, but it has, as I say, even more depth and story to tell us somewhere under there if our brains were able to pay attention. Dreaming and twilight, nice, and they're balanced. How's that for? So sometimes the change of height is what I'm after. Sometimes, as you can see here, it's that they properly are symmetrical, are echoes, are mirrors, are balancing. And then I think don't think white is what we're after. I think the white background's going to be a bit strong. So let's just have a look. Yeah, no, I'm definitely right that that's not what I'm after. So let's flick to the pages where I've got white on black. Is that the first of the black pages? Yes, I think it is. And then it's just a question of finding the one. We are fearless, independent and original. Those women kind of are, aren't they? There is beauty in simplicity. Take risks, choose to shine. So whether I want a long, I think I want short phrases. Take risks, stay curious, take risks. There it is. And sometimes those phrases just leap out at you and you understand immediately what it is that you're after. So this is leaving us lots of lovely space up above. And by keeping those phrases quite short, that's just giving us lots of room to play. Is she stay curious and she's take risks? Or is she stay curious and she's take risks? No, I think it is here. Let's have a look at that. Maybe that can go a little higher up. I wanted it sort of close to the leaves, but actually the space on the photo is a little higher. So those words are slightly different. I stuck in a little extra tiny attacher on each of those photos just to get that in. And those are word stickers. I quite often put an extra little bit of glue on because I've found that over time that can help them to just stay put. And now you see by that proper dark of that sticker, the word we stamped has become even more subliminal. But that's lovely. I love that. I love that there's another word hovering to be found if you take the time. But then just to balance those darks, I think what I'd quite like is a little scribbly border. So with a black pen, it's not a very thick border. I'm going to let it go behind that label. I'm going to just fill it in behind these leaves there. Why not? And come up from behind there. Down it goes. So this is, if I were able to work a sewing machine without it breaking and me ending up in floods of tears and swearing a lot, then I might do this with actual thread. But given life is really too short for that kind of stress, this version of framing is the one that I'm more likely to do on a daily basis. Very occasionally I can bear to go through the stress and trauma of trying to thread up the sewing machine, of trying to operate the sewing machine, but it would really take hours out of my day and take days off my life. So frankly, as an exchange, I love the look of scrappy sewn bits of thread. I absolutely adore it. But in terms of the balancing act between staying sane, it's just a lifelong enmity between me and sewing machines. And it seems to be genetic, because I clearly inherit that from my mother, who has the same problem with sewing and sewing machines. It's just not in our DNA to be able to cope with them. Or, you know, there's a universal sewing machine hatred for us. There we go. I think that might be it, except for, as you can probably guess, a little touch of frosty spatter on these autumnal tags. Have I got any paint left in this spatter pot? Let's give it a go. No, really not. So what I generally do at this point is mark the pot of paint that's on the go. I will squeeze some into my spatter pot so that I can just stick the brush in there without worrying that I'm contaminating anything. So that's the working pot that I keep nice and clean and uncontaminated. This is the spatter pot, from which I will take some now onto the mat, because that's just an easier way to yeah, or is it? No, okay, so I'll do, the reason I've put it in there is so that I can go in with a scrappy brush and know that I'm not going to mess up my nice white paint. Let's go. There we go. And one of the things I'm particularly looking to hit with that is that acetate film strip, and I'm also looking to hit those leaves. I'm doing my best to avoid the faces. If I do hit the face, I've got time to wipe it away, because the glossy photo stays a bit resistant to that paint. It won't dry immediately. There we go, nice frosty kind of affair. And yeah, just with a fingertip, I'll just clear those faces, or if it's on a hat in a way that I don't like. Marvellous. Little bit of twine and I think we'll be done. I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of tag time today. If you have, do leave me a thumbs up, comments or questions down below. As I say, I'll link to the background video in the description below, and I'll try to list as many of the ingredients as we've used today. Oh, I should link to the leafy video as well, shouldn't I? So background gel prints and leaves, you'll find those videos down below. Thank you so much for your company as always, and happy crafting all. I've switched on again because I'm just wondering about a little bit of risk taking. I just wondered what it might be like to have a little spatter of something like Seaglass to contrast with all this, and then I wondered maybe I want Seaglass mixed with a little bit of something like the Salvaged Patina oxide. So this is risk take time. It just seemed to me as though everything was maybe just a bit too samey in colour. Let's have a little look at these spatters. So there's just going to be a little spatter of something. In fact, it wants to be stronger. What have I got that's stronger? Bora Bora. Where's Bora Bora when it's at home? Oh, Beach Hut. So if I add a little bit of Beach Hut to what I've got on the mat, which is the Seaglass plus a bit of Distress Oxide. Ooh, that's a lot. But if I mix it, as I say, that should tone things down a bit. Ooh, see, that could be good. I'm just looking at it next to these tags. I'm just thinking a little bit of that might just be interesting. It's funny because there are some leaves in those pre-cut leaves we had that have got a bit of turquoise on them, and I was deliberately avoiding them. That's a bit too much going on there, so I'm just going to knock it back a little bit. There we go. Yeah, there's a life to that, which is really quite interesting. How funny. I'm clearly undergoing a sort of colour journey at the moment, and that's great. Follow those instincts. Sometimes they'll lead you astray, or you've maybe just not been bold enough, as I wasn't the first time out. And it takes adding that little bit of extra oomph. Right, need to go back into these faces because they've now got blue speckles on them, which doesn't look healthy. Some strange blue turquoise speckle disease. There's a certain kind of magic going on to that now. Grand. So this time I will dive in for the close-up and leave you in peace. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great week.